Today's guest is Dalton Jones, an Alabama-born singer-songwriter whose roots in church music at age 4 grew into a passion for storytelling through country, rock, and Americana. With heartfelt originals like Nothing to Lose and Country Nights, Dalton's music blends grit, soul, and heart. Let's get to the show. This program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are. Welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with us today is Dalton Jones. Dalton, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, Bubba. Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure. You came over from our good friend Willie and his show, Soul Impact. I was glad that we were able to get you over here on our sister network now.
Absolutely. No, we had a great time with Willie the other day, and he had nothing but good things to say about you, and he said you need to get linked up with Bubba, so just glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Well, before we get too far into it, I know you've had a busy time, especially this week is a real busy one for you. But before we get to that, why don't you take the floor and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, so I'm a country boy, born and bred. Grew up here in rural Alabama. Lived here my whole life, just outside of a little town called Jacksonville. It's actually the home place of Riley Green. So if you follow country music, Riley's doing some phenomenal things in the space, but he grew up just right down the road from me. But this little town is somewhere I've spent most of my life, and all my family's here. Grew up singing music. My dad is a pastor and minister, and so we were always in church when I was a kid before he became a pastor, and he was the choir director. And so he did a lot of music. He was giving special music on the weekend or, on Sundays and things. And I was about 4 years old, and Daddy was always up there singing. And so one day on the way home from church, I said, "Hey, Dad, I want to sing with you." And he said, "Well, hey, we'll sing next week." So we got up and we sang a song called "Thank You, Lord." And I wish I could remember the name of the group who wrote that song. And I'm going to get it and write it down on a sticky note right here so I can have it for future. But we sang that song together, and all I knew was the chorus, and it was just like, "Thank you, Lord." And I just, like, as a little kid, I started singing that and didn't know how to regulate my voice, but it was a fun time, and I was hooked from that moment on, and sang in church, did a lot of things. And then at about 14 years old, I started playing the guitar. My dad actually bought it for me at 10 years old, and took a few lessons and found out real quick that wasn't for me. I'm the kind of person I can't stand when somebody can do something and I can't. So the lessons did not go well, and so it sat in the corner of my room, collected dust for a few years, and then we finally got the nerve to pick it up and start teaching ourselves. And so I taught myself to play, and next thing you know, for several years I did that, and started singing in church again with the guitar and doing those types of things. And we launched our public music career, I would say, a little over a year ago in August. My wife had been pushing me for 10 years to do something with music. And we went to a concert, and we had the time of our lives, just had a great time. And I, on the way home, looked at my wife. I said, "We're doing music." And so when I got home, we wrote our first song, and the rest is history. Here we are today. So that's us in a nutshell. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I absolutely love it. I love that, singing essentially since you could talk, really, and having that bug and kind of that trajectory. I learned how to play guitar around that same age. I had played drums in concert band like 5th grade, right? So that'll, 10, 11 years old range. And then by 8th grade, 13, 14 years old, right, finally got a guitar in my hand. And I'd always been a singer, and there's just something about the 6 strings on a guitar and a human voice and the way that it goes together that I say it's magic. And it's the reason that we have so much good music that's kind of from that base, right? Of the guitar player, singer, songwriter, if you will. Love that the wife has been pushing. What took you so long to listen to your wife, Dalton?
Man, I'll tell you, I've always kind of been more of a, I guess you would say, a humble person. And, I knew I could sing, right? I believe in having confidence in yourself. I knew I could sing, but, I was just like, nah, I'm just, I'm the guy that sings on Sunday in church and does the special music, and everybody kind of cheers and claps because they have to, and so that was kind of my thought process. And my wife always would tell me, we did karaoke a lot, and people, when I was out doing karaoke and stuff, they would tell me, Dalton, you got it. You need to do more. You need to do more. And, I just always kind of brushed it off. And we went to that concert, and it was Rock the South here in Coleman, Alabama, which is a huge rock festival. I mean, there's like 30 country rock festival. There's 30,000 people out there. I mean, it's crazy. And they're in the middle of a cow pasture in the mud, and just, from seeing fist fights to seeing people doing slip and slides in the mud because it was pouring down rain, to just people drunk off their butts having a great time. I mean, it was just awesome. It was absolutely awesome, like pure redneck chaos. And I'm just like, this is great. And then I hear these people singing that I hear on the radio every day that I think they're great singers, and I hear them singing on stage and they still sound good. But I'm like, I think I could do that. And we went through the rest of that experience, and just seeing all those people having so much joy, and look at life and look at all the things going on in the world, which we could talk about all day. But I look at all those things, and there's one thing that I think everybody's able to connect on, and that's music. And so, I left there with a different perspective. And so we got in the car on the ride home, and I just looked at my wife and I said, I'm doing music because I want to bring joy to people that I saw this weekend. Like, that's what I want to do. And so, that's kind of what started. I got the bug, man. I got bit. It bit me hard and, took over me. And so, we just, since then, been playing out, man. It's been a wild year. I will say that. We played almost 100 shows across 8-9 different counties here in Alabama, and it's just been wild.
We went and covered a festival this year in Sioux Falls called Rock the Country, and I wonder if that's not from the Rock the South. Okay, it was a great time, man. Kid Rock was a headliner, Nickelback was the other headliner, but we saw
that's
Travis
his tour.
Yeah,
it's Kid Rock's tour.
Okay, cool, man.
He's
kind
of the he's the producer, whatever you would call it. But
yeah, okay.
He put together Rock the Country.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, man. Got to see Aaron Lewis and the State Liners, and just the whole vibe was awesome, man. Afro Man was there. That was super cool. So yeah, just shout out to Kid Rock for bringing us this beautiful tour and taking it out on the road this summer. I thought it was great. And to travel with something that big, I mean, it was 60,000 people. It was massive. It was huge. Really impressed with it. It's hard not to be inspired by those moments, right? And you talked about, music kind of being something that connects all of us. I lived in Mexico for a year throughout my travels. How I ended up there, we can get into in another conversation. But truly a universal language. When I landed down there, I wasn't really playing music at all. But when it came time to feed myself, I fell back on the one thing up until that point that I'd always had in my back pocket. And I used to go down in the center of the square, downtown in the town we were in, maybe 90,000, 100,000 people. And I'd sit there all day on Sunday and make, what most people are making working labor jobs in a day, right? For playing music. And it was that reminder. And I'd done that before. I was a busker. I got the bug early, Dalton. So I've been on the road with me and a guitar since I was, 18 years old, essentially. And it took me everywhere. And once I figured out that, man, pretty much anytime I need a little bit of money, I can throw this guitar around, sing a few songs, make 20, 40 bucks, feed myself and get where I needed to go. And then of course, that evolved, right? To playing gigs later on, 2009, put a band together with my dad and really started to play out. And then I've been doing that ever since, man. It's crazy to look back and be like, geez, you've really been in this, 2 decades now, playing music professionally, I guess, right? I was making money doing it. So whether I was on the street or on a stage, like, here we have a Levitt amphitheater that, has 5,000 people, I think you can fit in there. It's a crazy life that this been. And I love that while you're not new to music, you're new to this part of it. And it's so exciting early on as you're starting to move and to play around in different, getting outside of your hometown is a big step too, right? Getting out and playing for new crowds and new people. And that's only going to feed you, man. The more you get out and you're playing for other people that don't have to clap, right? You're outside of the church now. They're not required to like you or to support you. But so when you feel that support, it feels that much better.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been, that part of it, I don't ever really do it for the attaboys. It's great. I love it when people come up and, I've had people come to my shows and, I had a lady this past weekend that literally her and her husband came in late and they said it was just happenstance that we were here. And I said, well, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. And, but they came in and just were blown away and loved the show. And she came up afterwards and she said, I want your autograph. And I was like, I'm nobody. And she said, no, you're going to be somebody. And I want your autograph. And I was like, man, it's just like that. Wow. When somebody comes up and says something to you like that, it's just like, it's surreal. It really is surreal. And, here I am, I'm just doing something I love. I just enjoy it and getting to write music and tell stories and, that are relatable to people. That's something that I've always tried to create since I started is, that genuineness of myself, because I've always been that kind of person. With everything I do, I try to connect with people. I try to see the best in people and bring the best out of them, whether, no matter what situation it is. And so if my music can do that for somebody, then I feel like I've done a good thing. And that's what I'm about with it.
And the world is just craving authenticity right now. When you look at pop music and it's just cookie cutter songs, they rehash everything. I think a lot of people, real music lovers, are craving something more. And we've lost a lot of really good artists that have just aged out, right? And the music industry has really been on a slide for the last 2 decades. And the pop music world, which is now completely infiltrated country music as well. It's just so blah, right? It's bland, it's rehashed, and people, while you like a good pop song every now and then, and you put a little twang to it, and sure, they're fun to drink to, people really want music that touches their soul. And that's what music was always supposed to be, and it is. And I think that's why you have the trajectories of a guy like Zach Bryan, right? Where he just came on and said, no, I'm going to do me. And screw the industry and look what they've built. And it's just opened the door for so many other artists now. And not that Zach was the first by any means, but I really feel like the outlaw country and more, not necessarily the sound, but the attitude of like, what, we're just going to go do it. We're going to be independent. We're going to work with independent labels at that. Nobody's chasing a record deal anymore. It's why Spotify is changing their terms to just completely abuse artists even more. And to, at this point, you put your music on Spotify, you're signing a record deal that you don't even know. They're taking your licensing to all your music. I don't know if you plan on putting any music or have on there, but anyone else that's listening as well, do your homework on the terms. And I pulled all of my stuff. I pulled my podcast off of there. I don't care if I'm not making money over there. I am not going to support them to continue to just trample over independent artists that are out here just trying to get by and to put their art out there for music lovers. And we'll find our own way. And we don't need you. You weren't doing much for me anyway. So thank you, but no thank you. We'll keep on moving. Now, you talked about your wife, obviously an influence for the push into the pool, if you will, but you talked about writing together with her as well. So is your wife, are you performing as a duo, or what's kind of the setup of the band?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing mainly just solo stuff. I've played one show with a full band, and we're still hopeful that we can make some things work there. Um, had a great time with them. We actually played our debut show. We played in front of 2,000 people, so I would say it was pretty successful. Um, but my wife is an aspiring author, so she actually wrote her first novel and released it back in July, and so she's a very talented writer. And so it's kind of like having a secret ace in the pocket, per se. Um, that she helps me write some of these songs, and so she's actually helped me write 3 or 4 of the songs that we've got now. And of course, I write too. I think we both have different talents in that space, and I just try to write stuff from my heart. And a lot of what I do is more ad libbing than anything. I would say most of the songs I've written to date were just ad libbed. I just pick up the guitar, start playing, and words just come out. Whereas she is the more technical, I'm going to sit down and write it on paper person. And so I think it creates a happy marriage on more levels than one of, how we can kind of work together and really put out some good songs. And I would say some of the better songs that we've put out so far were songs that we did together, and people kind of, were able to resonate with that on different frequencies. And so it's been really fun.
Yeah, so obviously that's going to continue to be part of the formula here moving forward. Like you
Absolutely.
said, having the ace in the hole there, you got to use it. Yeah, you got to play it. So you let Mrs. Jones know that she is more than welcome to come on and do her own interview. And we'll talk about that novel that she just wrote. The Scene Projects isn't just about music. We like to get all kinds of creatives on here to share their stories. And we got a few other people in the network that would love to speak to her as well. So love that. My wife and I don't write songs together, but I've written some songs about her that have been some of our best. So I know the inspiration of having someone that you love, that inspires you, right there sleeping next to you every night. I know what that can bring to the table, man. So good for the both of you.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know you got a busy week. Not only are you coming on our live show Love Noise this week, but you're going into the studio too. Your first time in the studio?
Yeah, this is, man. So you can tell I've got a very simple setup here at the house. So most all the music we've put out, or I say most, all of the music that we have put out, I've mixed and mastered myself, and it's not it's not professional quality. I would say I've done my very best on it, and I think it turned out well, and we've had a lot of people that's enjoyed it. But this will be my first time in an actual studio with an actual producer. Super excited. The producer I'm working with is a phenomenal guy. He's worked with some amazing artists. He's worked with Uncle Cracker. So Uncle Cracker, he's helped produce some stuff for him. He's worked with another kind of higher end country music artist, Austin Snell. He's more, I'd say, country rock, kind of that pop country type genre. And then he also just worked on the new album that there's a country rapper. He's very diverse. That's one thing I love about him, is he works with a lot of different type of artists. But there's a country rapper called Big Smo. I think he's from Tennessee, and he just helped him produce his new album. And he just does a phenomenal job. He can play every instrument. He cuts all the tracks pretty much by himself, and he is really, really talented with his vocal mixes, which was the big reason why I wanted to work with him, because he's known for his vocal mixing talent and engineering talent. And, I feel like I know that I don't have the greatest voice in the world, but also I know that my voice has some character, and, I have a lot of raspiness and different things to my voice that I feel like he could bring the best out in that. So I'm really excited about, what we're going to do. We're going to put an EP out. We're going to work on 3 songs to start off. I got a full album put together, but we're going to start with those 3 songs, cut them, get them put out. I've talked to a few radio stations here locally. I think Willie's been up there kind of advocating for me in some places with you guys. So, I've got a bunch of people on my team and people that support me and love me and what I do. And are trying to help. And that's been I think the greatest thing about all of this is that, I know I can advocate for myself all day, but I believe that you've got to some extent. But the people that have kind of come on board and started supporting me as I've done this, and most all of them, I would say it was because they were just able to relate to me. But it's been fantastic, and those people have really kind of helped me to get to where I am today, the growth and everything that we've seen with the music and what we're doing. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about these songs. They're good songs. They're good songs. And I know that with what Josh is going to be able to do with them, they're going to be phenomenal. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear what it's going to be like when we get done. That's what I'm waiting for.
Now, coming from the church, I'm going to assume that you have a little bit of experience singing harmony parts and things like that. When you produced your own stuff, were you working on harmony parts and kind of layering vocals in there?
I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't do a whole lot of that, and that was, partially just because I really didn't know what I was doing. Number one, I was just learning as I was going. I'm really tech savvy. I work in the tech industry with my full-time role currently. And so, anything technology related, I can usually figure out and make it at least seem very well done. But yeah, I didn't. I do know a lot about harmony. I was in choir coming up in school, so I was in choral class in school. And then, of course, I sang in the choir and did different things at the church as well growing up. So I've got background and experience in that. And I know working with a guy like Josh, he'll be able to say, all right, now we cut that, let's do it again, sing it a little different. All right, now let's do some harmony. So I'm sure he'll want to throw some things in there. And I think that's one thing that I've, with the experience I've had in music, is that I'm multi-toned, I would say. I'm really, I would say my natural range is baritone. But, I've been known to sing some way down bass, like some Josh Turner type stuff, and then all the way go up to on the higher end. I do some things like Leonard Skinner and, oh gosh, one of my favorite songs all time to sing is "Wicked Game" by Chris Isaacs. And if you've ever heard that song, it's up there. So, I have a very broad range. And so I'm hoping that working with him, he'll be able to bring that stuff out. He'll have a better understanding of it than what I do.
And that's what you pay for when you go to work with an experienced producer, is somebody who's been there before and kind of done that can say, hey, try this. Where us working in our home studios, I've recorded some stuff. I've never released anything that I've recorded at home. It's mostly been demos so that I could show other people, hey, this is kind of what the song is. But having worked with just a good friend of mine, but who has a ton of experience in his studio, and just the little tips that hey, try this. You want to run this one more time? You want to do this? It made the songs that I've been working on here the last year or so that much better. And now that they're kind of in the mixing phase and we're getting ready to master these things and release them, hopefully in the next month or two, it's some of the best work I've ever done. And that would have never come across if I didn't choose to hire professionals to do their job. Right. To let them kind of cook with the things that we're bringing, because I know that, the songs I have, I think they're good songs. Right. I'm bringing this out to the table and putting it out there. Help me make it better. Right. And I think when you start to work with good people, right, people that are not just there to take your money, but are really interested in helping you to craft and make your art as good as it can be, that's when the magic really happens. So thrilled for you, man. I'm so excited to talk to you tomorrow night from when we filmed this and to hear how it went. But then, of course, to hear the songs down the line when they get fully produced and released out there, hopefully not onto Spotify and out into the world. And we're going to find a way to promote them on all of our stuff. The Scene Projects radio is up and running now, so we'll definitely be sure to share it on there. And thank you, man. That was a big step, something I've had in the back of my head for a long time. And I do too much already, Dalton. So until I had the team, Willie, our other producer, Boo Boo, have been so influential and pulling things off of my plate. And I know Willie is a DJ in his regular gig, right? He's running his own production company. Shout out to Backwoods Productions and everything that he's doing. I knew that he would jump in full force into this with me if I just gave him a little guidance. So
He's a good dude.
So grateful. So grateful for a brilliant team, and it sounds like you've got a great one as well. Dalton, before I let you go, where can people find you online, and where can they take a listen to the stuff you've got out there?
Yeah, so we're on all the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all the things. You can look up Dalton Jones Music or Dalton Jones Official. It's one or the other. I couldn't do Dalton Jones Music on everything because it was taken. So Dalton Jones Music or Dalton Jones Official. We do have some music out on streaming platforms. It's on everything right now, but I'm with you with Spotify. I don't plan on releasing anything else to them until they fix that with those terms of service. So we do have some music that's on Amazon Prime, on YouTube Music, all that good stuff. Spotify, it's on there. It's on Pandora, iHeartRadio. It's on literally everything right now. And then, of course, we also are on Bands in Town. Of course, it depends on where you're listening from right now. All of our shows have been in Alabama, but I'm hoping that it's about to spread out way from there. So you can find me on Bands in Town as well and kind of see our show schedule. So if you're making a trip down here to Alabama, or if you're in Alabama, you can come and see us.
Awesome, man. Well, Dalton, just keep on going. That's the only advice I can give you in your young music career. Before you know it, you'll look back and those hundreds of shows will be thousands of shows. You'll have made a ton of memories and a ton of friends out there. And it just, it's thrilling. It's thrilling to see someone at the beginning of their journey having a lot of success and in the middle of it. And you're a reason that I started doing this in the first place. And I built the Scene Projects was to support guys just like you. So Dalton Jones, thanks for being part of the Scene.
Hey, yes, sir. Thank you for having me. We appreciate what you do.